Emma Collins sat at her bedroom window, watching her mother Linda laugh at something Marcus had just said. They were in the backyard setting up for a small barbecue, and Emma could see how happy her mother looked. It had been 4 years since her father died in a car accident, and Emma had never seen her mother smile this much. At first, Emma wasn't sure about Marcus Johnson. When her mother started dating him 2 years ago, Emma felt protective and worried. She was only 14 then, and the idea of another man in their house felt strange. Her father had been her hero, and no one could replace him in her heart. Marcus was different from her father in many ways. Where her father had been tall and thin, Marcus was shorter but strong from his work as an electrician. Her father had been quiet and serious most of the time, but Marcus was always joking and making people laugh. Emma's father had light brown hair and green eyes, while Marcus had dark skin, kind brown eyes, and a warm smile that seemed to make everyone around him feel better. The first time Linda brought Marcus home for dinner, Emma barely spoke. She answered his questions with short words and spent most of the evening studying his face, trying to figure out what her mother saw in him. Marcus didn't seem bothered by her cold behavior. He was patient and kind, asking about her school and her friends without pushing too hard for answers. Over the months that followed, Marcus slowly became part of their daily life. He would come over on weekends to help fix things around the house. Emma watched from her bedroom window as he repaired their broken fence and fixed the leaky faucet in the kitchen that had been dripping for months. Her mother would bring him lemonade, and they would talk and laugh together while he worked. Emma began to notice small things about Marcus that surprised her. When she was struggling with her math homework one evening, he sat down at the kitchen table and helped her understand the problems. He was patient and explained things in a way that made sense. When she got frustrated and wanted to give up, he encouraged her to keep trying. During the winter, when Emma caught a bad cold and had to stay home from school for a week, Marcus brought her soup and funny movies to watch. He didn't try to be her father, but he cared for her like family. When she was feeling better, he taught her how to play chess, and they spent hours at the kitchen table moving pieces and talking about everything and nothing. The turning point came during Emma's 15th birthday. She had been sad because it was the first birthday since her father's death that she really felt his absence. Her mother had planned a small party, but Emma wasn't excited about it. That morning, Marcus knocked on her bedroom door and asked if she wanted to go somewhere special with him. They drove to a small lake outside of town, where Marcus said he used to go fishing with his own father when he was young. They sat on the dock with their feet in the water, and Marcus told Emma stories about his childhood. He talked about losing his father when he was in high school and how hard it had been. He didn't try to say he knew exactly how she felt, but he understood the pain of missing someone important. That day, Emma realized that Marcus wasn't trying to replace her father. He was just trying to be there for her and her mother in his own way. When they got home, Emma hugged him for the first time and thanked him for the special day. She saw tears in his eyes, and she knew he had been hoping for this moment for a long time. When Linda and Marcus got engaged 6 months later, Emma was genuinely happy for them. She helped plan the small wedding ceremony and even gave a short speech about how Marcus had become an important part of their family. The wedding was simple but beautiful, held in their backyard with close friends and family members. After the wedding, Marcus officially became Emma's stepfather, but their relationship felt natural and comfortable. He drove her to school when her mother had to work early. He attended her soccer games and cheered loudly from the sidelines. When she had problems with friends or school, she found herself talking to Marcus about things she couldn't discuss with her mother. Marcus treated Emma like his own daughter in every way that mattered. He helped her study for tests, taught her how to change a tire, and listened to her complain about teachers and homework. He never tried to discipline her harshly or act like he was in charge. Instead, he supported her mother's decisions and offered guidance when Emma asked for it. Emma's mother, Linda, seemed like a completely different person after marrying Marcus. She laughed more, worried less, and had energy for things she used to be too tired to do. The three of them would cook dinner together, watch movies, and take weekend trips to nearby cities. Their house felt full of life and happiness in a way it hadn't since Emma's father died. During quiet moments, Emma sometimes felt guilty for being so happy. She worried that loving Marcus meant she was forgetting her real father or being disloyal to his memory. One evening, she shared these feelings with Marcus while they were working on a puzzle together. Marcus listened carefully and then told her something she would never forget. He said that loving him didn't mean she loved her father any less. He explained that the heart has room for many different kinds of love, and that her father would want her to be happy and cared for. Marcus promised that he would never try to take her father's place in her memories, but he hoped he could make his own special place in her heart. Emma realized that Marcus was right. She could love and miss her father while also loving and appreciating Marcus. They were different people who had come into her life at different times, and both had made her life better in their own ways. As the summer before her junior year of high school approached, Emma felt more secure and happy than she had in years. She had a loving mother, a caring stepfather, and a family that felt complete. She was excited about starting the new school year and looking forward to the future. Emma had no idea that the happiness and security she felt at home would soon be tested by the cruelty and ignorance of some of her classmates. The first day of junior year at Riverside High School started like any other September morning. Emma Collins walked through the front doors feeling confident and happy. She had spent the summer working at a local bookstore and hanging out with her family. Marcus had helped her pick out new school supplies, and her mother had taken her shopping for clothes. Emma felt ready for whatever the new school year would bring. She didn't expect the whispers to start so quickly. Emma was putting books in her locker when she heard two girls behind her talking in low voices. She recognized them as Katie Morrison and her best friend Ashley Brooks. They were popular girls who had never paid much attention to Emma before. "Did you see who dropped Emma off this morning?" Katie said in a voice just loud enough for Emma to hear. "Yeah, who was that guy?" Ashley replied. "That's her new stepdad. My mom told me her mother married some black guy over the summer. Can you believe it?" Emma felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger. She wanted to turn around and say something, but she didn't know what to say. Instead, she grabbed her books and walked quickly to her first class. Throughout the morning, Emma noticed more students looking at her and whispering. Word seemed to spread fast in their small school. By lunchtime, she felt like everyone was staring at her. She sat at her usual table with her friend Rachel, trying to act normal. "Are people being weird to you today?" Rachel asked quietly. Emma nodded. "Some people are talking about Marcus, my stepdad." Rachel frowned. "What are they saying?" Before Emma could answer, Katie Morrison walked past their table with her group of friends. She spoke loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I just don't understand why someone would choose to marry outside their race. It's so weird. What do you even talk about with someone so different?" Emma's face turned red. She stood up quickly, leaving her lunch half-eaten, and walked out of the cafeteria. She spent the rest of lunch period hiding in the library, trying not to cry. The comments continued throughout the week. Some students would make jokes about mixed families when Emma walked by. Others would ask her fake innocent questions about whether her stepdad was scary or if she felt safe at home. Emma started to dread going to school each morning. The worst part was that Emma loved Marcus. He was kind, funny, and caring. He had never made her feel anything but loved and protected. The idea that other people saw something wrong with her family made Emma feel sick and angry. One afternoon, Marcus picked Emma up from school because her mother was working late. As they drove away, Emma saw Katie and Ashley pointing at the car and laughing. Emma sank down in her seat, hoping Marcus hadn't noticed. "Everything okay at school?" Marcus asked as they stopped at a red light. "Yeah, everything's fine," Emma lied. She couldn't bear the thought of telling Marcus what the other students were saying about him. He had done nothing wrong, and she didn't want to hurt his feelings. But Marcus wasn't fooled. He had noticed Emma's mood change since school started. She was quieter at dinner, spent more time alone in her room, and seemed worried about things she wouldn't talk about. The bullying got worse as the weeks went by. Katie Morrison seemed to make it her personal mission to make Emma's life difficult. She would make loud comments in the hallways about how Emma's mother had terrible taste in men and how she must be embarrassed to bring her stepdad to school events. One day in the cafeteria, Katie stood up and announced to her table of friends, "I heard Emma's stepdad works with his hands, probably can't even read properly. What kind of future is that family going to have?" Her friends laughed, and other students turned to look. Emma felt humiliated and angry. She wanted to stand up and defend Marcus, to tell everyone how smart and wonderful he was, but she felt frozen, unable to find the words. Emma started avoiding places where she might run into Katie and her friends. She ate lunch in empty classrooms or the library. She took different routes through the school hallways. She stopped participating in class discussions because she was afraid someone would make fun of her if she drew attention to herself. Her grades began to suffer because she couldn't concentrate on her schoolwork. She would sit in class thinking about the mean comments and wondering what people were saying about her family. At night, she had trouble sleeping because she was worried about facing another day of whispers and cruel remarks. The situation got even worse when the school announced the annual parent-teacher conference night. Emma had always looked forward to these events because her parents would meet her teachers and hear good things about her work. But now she dreaded the idea of Marcus coming to school where other students and parents might see him. Emma tried to convince her mother and Marcus that they didn't need to attend the conference. She made up excuses about how it wasn't important and how her grades were fine. But Linda and Marcus insisted on coming because they cared about Emma's education and wanted to support her. The night of the conference, Emma walked through the school hallways between her mother and Marcus, feeling like everyone was staring at them. She saw Katie Morrison with her parents, and Katie whispered something to her mother while looking directly at Emma's family. Emma's English teacher, Mrs. Peterson, was kind and welcoming to Marcus and Linda. She spoke about Emma's good writing skills and her participation in class discussions. But Emma barely heard the praise because she was too worried about what other families in the hallway might be thinking or saying. After the conference, as they walked to the parking lot, Emma heard someone behind them make a comment about those people and how the school was changing. Emma felt her face burn with shame and anger, not for herself or her family, but because she knew Marcus and Linda had heard it too. That night, Emma lay in bed feeling angry and helpless. She was angry at the students who made cruel comments, angry at the parents who taught their children to be prejudiced, and angry at herself for being too scared to stand up for her family. She loved Marcus and was proud to have him as her stepfather, but the constant harassment was wearing her down. Emma decided she would try to protect Marcus from the cruelty by keeping him away from school events. She didn't realize that her behavior was hurting Marcus, who noticed her pulling away and wondered if he had done something wrong. Emma was so focused on protecting him from other people's ignorance that she didn't see how her distance was affecting the man who loved her like his own daughter. Friday afternoon at Riverside High School was usually quiet and peaceful. Most students had gone home and only a few groups stayed for after-school activities. Emma Collins was in the drama club rehearsing for their fall play. She had joined the drama club at the beginning of the year as a way to avoid eating lunch with other students and to stay busy after school. The drama club was practicing in the second-floor classroom that they used as their rehearsal space. Emma was working on her lines with 15 other students, including some she recognized but didn't know well. Katie Morrison was also there, which made Emma uncomfortable, but she tried to focus on her acting instead of worrying about what Katie might say. Mrs. Anderson, their drama teacher, was helping them practice a scene when they heard the first alarm. At first, nobody paid much attention. Fire alarms went off accidentally all the time at their school, usually because someone burned something in the kitchen or pulled the alarm as a prank. "Keep practicing," Mrs. Anderson said. "They'll announce if it's a real emergency." But then, they smelled smoke. The smell was faint at first, like something burning far away. Then it got stronger. Mrs. Anderson went to the classroom door and opened it to look into the hallway. Thick gray smoke was coming up the stairs from the first floor. "This is real," Mrs. Anderson said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Everyone, line up, we need to leave the building right now." The students quickly gathered their things and lined up at the door. But when Mrs. Anderson tried to lead them toward the main staircase, she saw that the hallway was filling with smoke. The fire seemed to be coming from the electrical room on the first floor, and the smoke was rising quickly through the building. "We can't go this way," Mrs. Anderson said. "Let's try the back stairs." They hurried down the hallway toward the back staircase, but when they got there, they found that the door was locked. The back stairs were only supposed to be used during emergencies, but someone had chained the door shut months ago for security reasons and never unlocked it. Mrs. Anderson pulled out her cell phone to call for help, but she couldn't get a signal inside the building. The thick walls of the old school blocked most cell phone signals on the best days, and now with all the emergency equipment outside, nothing was working. "Everyone stay calm," Mrs. Anderson said. But Emma could hear the worry in her teacher's voice. "We'll find another way out." They tried the windows, but they were on the second floor and too high to jump safely. The old windows were also painted shut and wouldn't open more than a few inches. The smoke in the hallway was getting thicker, and some students were starting to cough. Emma looked around at the other students trapped with her. Katie Morrison was standing near the window, looking scared and very different from her usual confident self. Ashley Brooks was crying quietly. Some of the younger students looked terrified. "What if we can't get out?" asked Jake Miller, a sophomore, who was new to the drama club. "Don't think like that," Emma said, surprising herself by speaking up. "The fire department will come. They'll figure out how to get us out." Through the window, they could see fire trucks and ambulances arriving in the school parking lot. Parents were starting to gather behind the yellow tape that the police had put up around the building. Emma could see her mother's car pulling into the parking lot, and she knew Linda would be panicked when she realized Emma was still inside. The smoke was getting worse. Mrs. Anderson had the students sit on the floor, where the air was cleaner, and she used her jacket to block the gap under the classroom door, but everyone knew they couldn't stay there much longer. "Why aren't they coming to get us?" Ashley asked between coughs. Mrs. Anderson looked out the window again. "The fire department is setting up their equipment. These things take time. They have to make sure it's safe before they can come inside." But Emma could see the firefighters outside looking confused and frustrated. They were pointing at different parts of the building and talking into their radios. Something was wrong with their plan. Katie Morrison, who had been quiet since the emergency started, suddenly spoke up. "This is all so stupid. Why can't they just come up and get us? It's not that hard." "It's not that simple," Mrs. Anderson explained. "This building has a complicated electrical system. If they don't shut off the power correctly, they could make the fire worse or get electrocuted themselves." Emma watched through the window as more emergency vehicles arrived. She could see her mother and Marcus standing behind the police tape, holding each other and looking up at the school building. Marcus was talking to one of the firefighters, pointing at the building and gesturing with his hands. "I wish someone knew more about how this building works," Mrs. Anderson said quietly. "The fire seems to be in the electrical room, and it's affecting all the power systems. The firefighters need to understand the wiring before they can safely get to us." Emma pressed her face to the window, trying to see what was happening outside. The smoke was making it hard to breathe, and she was starting to feel scared. She thought about Marcus and how kind he had been to her over the past 2 years. She thought about all the times he had helped her with homework, driven her to school, and made her feel safe and loved. She also thought about all the cruel things Katie and other students had said about Marcus. They had called him stupid and worthless. They had made fun of his job and acted like he wasn't good enough for their community. But Emma knew something those students didn't know. Marcus wasn't just any electrician. He was really good at his job. He had worked on big projects and knew complicated electrical systems. Emma remembered him talking about working on schools and office buildings, figuring out problems that other electricians couldn't solve. The students sat in the smoky classroom, waiting and hoping someone would rescue them soon. Outside, the firefighters were still trying to figure out the safest way to enter the building and reach the trapped students on the second floor. Emma looked at Katie Morrison, who was coughing and looking more scared than Emma had ever seen her. All of Katie's mean comments and cruel jokes seemed so unimportant now. None of the social drama at school mattered when they were all in real danger together. "Someone will come for us," Emma said to the group, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Someone will figure out how to get us out of here safely." She didn't know it yet, but the person who would save them was already putting on protective gear in the parking lot below. Marcus Johnson was finishing up a job at a construction site across town when his work radio crackled with emergency reports. He always kept his radio on during work hours in case other electricians needed help or there was an emergency in the area. Fire at Riverside High School, the dispatcher announced. Electrical fire in the main building. Multiple students trapped on second floor. Marcus dropped his tools immediately. Emma was at school for drama club practice, and she would still be in the building. His heart started racing as he ran to his truck, barely remembering to grab his hard hat and safety gear from the back. He drove faster than he ever had before, his mind racing with worry. Linda would be terrified. Emma could be in real danger. Marcus had been to the school many times for parent events and Emma's activities, but he had never told anyone about his connection to the building's electrical system. 3 years ago, Marcus had been the lead electrician for Riverside High School's major renovation project. He had spent 6 months working in that building, rewiring classrooms, updating the main electrical panels, and installing new safety systems. He knew every wire, every circuit breaker, and every electrical closet in that school better than he knew his own house. When Marcus arrived at the school, the parking lot was full of fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars. Parents stood behind yellow tape, crying and holding each other as they watched smoke pour from the second-floor windows. Marcus quickly found Linda in the crowd. She was sobbing and pointing up at the building. "Emma's still inside," Linda cried when she saw Marcus. "They can't get to the students. Something's wrong with the electrical system." Marcus looked up at the second-floor windows where he could see faces pressed against the glass. One of those faces was Emma's. She was trapped with about 15 other students, and the smoke was getting thicker. He pushed through the crowd toward the fire trucks, where firefighters were gathered around their chief, looking frustrated and concerned. Marcus could hear parts of their conversation as he got closer. "We can't shut off the main power," one firefighter was saying. "The electrical room is where the fire started, and we can't get to the main breaker safely. If we go in, without shutting off the power, we risk electrocution," the fire chief replied. "But if we wait much longer, those kids could die from smoke inhalation." "The building plans we have are old," another firefighter added. "They don't show all the electrical updates that have been done over the years." Marcus took a deep breath and approached the group. "Excuse me," he said. "I'm an electrician and I worked on this building. I can help." The fire chief looked at Marcus with doubt. "Sir, I appreciate the offer, but this is a very dangerous situation. We need professionals who know exactly what they're doing." "I am a professional," Marcus said calmly. "I was the lead electrician for the renovation project 3 years ago. I rewired most of this building myself. I know where every circuit breaker is, where all the safety switches are located, and how to shut down the power safely." The fire chief studied Marcus's face, trying to decide if he could trust this stranger, who had appeared in the middle of their emergency. "You have any way to prove that?" Marcus pulled out his phone and showed the chief photos from the renovation project. The pictures showed Marcus working inside the school's electrical rooms, installing new panels and running new wiring. He also pulled out his contractor's license and certifications. "These photos show me working in the exact electrical room where the fire started," Marcus explained. "I installed that whole system. I know how to shut it down safely so your people can get inside." The fire chief looked at the photos and then at Marcus. "What's your name?" "Marcus Johnson. I work for Peterson Electric Company. You can call my boss if you need to check my credentials." "We don't have time for that," the chief said. "Those kids are running out of clean air. If you really know this building's electrical system, we need your help right now." Marcus nodded. "I'll need protective gear, and I want to go in with your rescue team to make sure the power stays off while you get the students out." Within minutes, Marcus was suited up in firefighter gear, including an oxygen mask and protective clothing. As he prepared to enter the building, word began to spread through the crowd of parents and community members about the electrician who was volunteering to help with the rescue. "Who is that man?" someone asked. "He's an electrician who worked on the school," another person replied. "He's risking his life to save those kids," said a third voice. Linda watched with pride and terror as Marcus prepared to enter the burning building. She knew he was brave, but she had never seen him in action during an emergency. The other parents around her were talking about the hero electrician who had stepped forward to help, not knowing that this hero was her husband. Marcus entered, the building with 2 firefighters moving carefully through the smoke-filled hallways. His knowledge of the building layout was perfect. Even with limited visibility, he knew exactly where to go. The main electrical room is down this hall, Marcus told the firefighters through his radio. But there's a secondary panel in the janitor's closet that controls the 2nd floor. If we shut that down first, it'll be safer to approach the main room. They followed Marcus's directions, and within minutes, he had safely shut down the electrical systems that were feeding the fire. The firefighters were amazed at how quickly and confidently Marcus moved through the building, knowing exactly which switches to flip and which circuits to disconnect. The building is safe now, Marcus radioed to the fire chief. Your people can come in and get the students, but Marcus wasn't done. I want to help get those kids out, he told the firefighters with him. I know the fastest route to that classroom, and I know which hallways will have the cleanest air. The rescue team followed Marcus through the building as he led them directly to the trapped students. His knowledge of the building's ventilation system helped them find the routes with the least smoke, making the rescue faster and safer. As they climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor, Marcus thought about Emma and how scared she must be. He also thought about all the cruel things students had said about him over the past few months. Emma had tried to hide the bullying from him, but Marcus had noticed her sadness and withdrawn behavior. Now he was about to face those same students in very different circumstances. Instead of being someone they mocked and dismissed, he was coming to save their lives. The trapped students in the 2nd floor classroom heard heavy footsteps in the hallway outside. Through the thick smoke, they could see lights from flashlights getting closer. Emma pressed her face to the small window in the classroom door and saw figures in firefighter gear approaching. They're here, Emma called out to the other students. The rescue team is here. Mrs. Anderson quickly moved away from the door as it opened. 3 firefighters entered the smoky room, and the students could barely make out their faces through the protective masks and gear. The lead firefighter removed his helmet and mask, and Emma's heart stopped. It was Marcus. Everyone stay calm, Marcus said in a strong, clear voice. We're going to get you all out safely. Emma stared at her stepfather in amazement. He looked completely different in the firefighter gear, confident and in charge. This wasn't the quiet electrician who helped her with homework at the kitchen table. This was a professional rescuer who clearly knew exactly what he was doing. Katie Morrison, who had been coughing near the window, turned around when she heard Marcus's voice. Her eyes went wide with shock when she recognized him as Emma's stepfather. The man she had called stupid and worthless was now standing in their classroom wearing rescue gear, ready to save their lives. Mr. Johnson? Katie whispered, hardly believing what she was seeing. Marcus heard her but didn't respond to her surprise. He was focused on the rescue. I need everyone to listen carefully, he told the group. We're going to leave this room in small groups. The hallway has some smoke, but I know the safest route out of the building. Ashley Brooks, Katie's best friend, was staring at Marcus with her mouth open. You're Emma's stepdad, she said. Yes, I am, Marcus replied calmly. And right now I'm here to get you all to safety. Marcus organized the students into groups of 3. He would lead each group through the building personally, making sure they got out safely before coming back for the next group. Emma watched as he helped the younger students first, speaking to them gently and making sure they weren't too scared. You'll be okay, Marcus told Jake Miller, the sophomore who had been most frightened. Just follow me and breathe through this cloth if the smoke gets too thick. As Marcus led the first group out, Emma heard Katie whisper to Ashley, I can't believe Emma's stepdad is rescuing us. We said such terrible things about him. He probably hates us, Ashley whispered back. But when Marcus returned for the second group, he treated Katie and Ashley with the same care and professionalism he showed everyone else. He didn't mention their cruel comments or treat them differently because of how they had behaved toward Emma. Follow me closely, Marcus told Katie as he helped her stand up. The stairs can be slippery, so hold on to the railing. Katie nodded, too amazed and ashamed to say anything else. Emma was in the last group to leave. As Marcus led her and two other students through the smoky hallway, Emma felt proud and grateful. Her stepfather was risking his life to save people who had been cruel to both of them. "How did you know so much about the building?" Emma asked as they walked down the stairs. "I rewired most of this school 3 years ago," Marcus explained. "I spent months learning every electrical system in this place." When they reached the outside, Emma saw that a crowd of parents, students, and community members had gathered.
As word spread that all the trapped students had been rescued safely, people began asking about the electrician who had helped with the rescue. "Who was that man who went in with the firefighters?" someone asked. "He's the one who knew how to shut
"Off the power safely," another person replied. "He saved those kids' lives," said a parent whose daughter had been in the building. The fire chief approached Marcus as he was taking off the protective gear. "Mr. Johnson, I want to thank you personally. Without your knowledge of this building's electrical system, this rescue would have been much more dangerous and taken much longer. I'm just glad everyone is safe," Marcus replied. Linda ran over and hugged Marcus tightly. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You were amazing." Emma joined the hug, and for a moment, the three of them stood together while chaos continued around them. Emma noticed that many people were watching them and talking among themselves. Some of the students who had made fun of Marcus were staring with shocked expressions. The local news crews arrived within an hour. They interviewed the fire chief, who praised Marcus's expertise and bravery. Without Mr. Johnson's knowledge of the building and his willingness to risk his safety, this could have been a tragedy, the fire chief told the reporters. When the news crew asked to interview Marcus, he was humble and brief. "I just did what anyone would do," he said. "I had the skills that were needed, so I helped." But Emma could see that the community was looking at Marcus very differently now. Parents, who had never spoken to him before, came over to shake his hand and thank him. Students who had ignored or mocked him were now staring with respect and admiration. The next Monday at school, everything was different for Emma. Students who had whispered cruel comments about Marcus now approached her with apologies and praise for her stepfather. The hallway conversations were about Marcus's heroism instead of gossip about her family. Katie Morrison came up to Emma at her locker before first period. "Emma, I need to talk to you," Katie said quietly. Emma turned around, expecting another confrontation. "I want to apologize," Katie said, looking down at her feet. "I said terrible things about your stepfather, and I was completely wrong. He saved my life and he saved all of us. I'm really sorry for everything I said." Emma studied Katie's face and could see that her apology was genuine. "Thank you for saying that," Emma replied. "Your stepfather is a hero," Katie continued. "I was stupid and mean, and I'm ashamed of how I acted." Over the following weeks, the story of Marcus's rescue continued to spread through the community. The school board invited him to a special ceremony where they presented him with a community service award. The local newspaper wrote a feature story about his heroism, calling him the right man at the right time. Emma sat in the school auditorium during the award ceremony, watching with pride as Marcus accepted recognition from the community that had once looked down on him. The same parents who had whispered cruel comments were now giving him a standing ovation. Marcus's speech was short and humble. "I didn't do anything special," he told the audience. "I just used the skills I had to help people who needed help. That's what we should all do for each other." After the ceremony, Emma hugged Marcus tightly. "I'm so proud to be your daughter," she said. Marcus smiled and hugged her back. "And I'm proud to be your dad." Emma realized that the experience had taught her community an important lesson about judging people based on their appearance or background. Marcus had always been the same caring, skilled, and brave person, but it took a crisis for others to see his true character. The bullying stopped completely. Emma's senior year was happy and peaceful, and she graduated with honors. Marcus and Linda sat in the front row at graduation, beaming with pride as Emma received awards for academic achievement and community service. Emma learned that heroes don't always look the way people expect them to, and that the people others dismiss or mock might be the very ones who step up when courage and skill are needed most.